안녕하세요. This is K Water Bottle, and it's been a long time, right? So instead of keep saying I have been busy again and again, I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to introduce what I have been actually doing these days. Like a video portfolio. Since this is the first video of my series, I would like to introduce my experience with NSLIY, which led me to making this channel after all. So, what is NSLIY? NSLIY is a US government educational program to support and foster linguistic experts. Hence the Y standing for youth. The program is for high school students, and the languages for the program are Arabic, Chinese, Hindi, Indonesian, Korean, Persian, Russian, and Turkish. If you are watching this video in the future, there might have been some changes, so check the link below. So for the students, the NSLIY program consists of mainly two parts: studying Korean in a language institute of Korean University and studying with speaking tutors, which was what I participated in. The tutors are native Koreans, and we also participated in programs like field trips. So in this video, I'm going to share my experience as a Korean tutor, so it would be more focused on my perspective than actual students. There are also many videos made by the students, so check them out if you are more interested in those. So the first thing I was assigned to do was reviewing what they have learned from the institute. The whole learning experience from NSLIY Korea goes like this. The students study Korean at University Language Institute using their materials. In my case, it was in Ewha Women's University and their textbooks. After the class, students and I met in a cafe nearby and reviewed the lesson with this blue book on the right. So the tutors could teach speaking part more intimately and privately. Although I was given the blue books, if I wasn't aware of what exactly the students have learned in the institute, the overall quality of my lesson would be low, or there might be some contradiction. But fortunately, I took a Korean learning material class before that semester and was on a school project to make my own textbook. One of the books I took reference for my project was the book they were using in Ewha Language Institute, so I was very much aware of how the lesson were consisted, especially ups and downs of the book. This helped me to make my lesson more efficient and better in quality. My favorite part of the lesson were the task parts, since this is what I can offer the most. I took the advantage of teaching them in a small group, so I recorded the students answering the questions and reviewed them over and over. This way I was able to nitpick their every single mistakes and perfecting their Korean pronunciation. Also, for real-life task section, I gave them homeworks to interview their homestay families. Some of the questions were a little bit awkward to ask since the book was made by Korean, and there were a bit culture gaps, so I would change the tasks time to time, keeping it still relevant to the lessons but making it more culturally appropriate. The students would send me their recordings, and I made one-on-one review cards which we would discuss in the next meeting. My favorite part outside the book was teaching them Korean slang words or Korean memes. This experience was the reason why I started this channel. Because they were taught in the institute in a large group, the students couldn't learn or ask about these modern informal speech in the class. I also couldn't just teach them slang words out of context of the lecture, so I came up with a solution. Each of the lessons had a specific topic like food or travel and so on. So I chose slang words or meme which are related to the topic. For instance, if the lesson of the topic was food, I taught them slang words like 맛점, 맛저, which is short for 맛있는 점심, 맛있는 저녁, and let them use it when saying goodbye before lunch or dinner. The students really enjoyed this because there aren't many sources to learn these kind of informal speech. And what is more perfect source could there be besides a native Korean internet-addicted tutor who were willing to teach these every week? After our class was over, we had an hour of free time to experience the Korean culture. And by Korean culture, I don't mean traditional culture like trying on hanbok and visiting palaces, which are fun in their own ways, but it seemed too generic to me. Instead, we visited something Koreans call hatpul, meaning trending places. Honestly, I was surprised because some of the places like SM Town was a place that I have never heard of, but the students were aware of it. Anyways, this kind of more natural culture experiences provided me many opportunities to explain Korean culture which are more close to our actual linguistic culture. For example, on 초복, we had 삼계탕 in Hongdae. 초복 is the first day of 삼복, which means three 복. It is from Korean traditional calendar system called 24절기, which I made a video before, so check it out if you want to learn more. Three 복 are three hottest days of the year, and 복 is a hanja for to lie down on stomach, implying that we should just stay at home and give up. These days, Koreans eat samgyetang, which is a kind of chicken soup with a whole chicken inside. The importance of knowing all these facts doesn't stop here. The meaning of hanja 복, to lie down, is the same 복 in words like 항복하다 or 굴복하다, both meaning to give up. Also, 게 from 삼계탕 means a chicken, and is the same 게 from 양계장, meaning a chicken farm. Furthermore, knowing the tradition of eating chicken makes it easier to learn the idiom 복날이 개 or 복날이 닭, which translates to a dog on a 복날 or a chicken on a 복날. This means something like a turkey before Thanksgiving, implying that someone is in a bad, harsh situation. Now, we did put on hanbok and visited Korean palaces on a field trip. Unlike a small group speaking class, 3 classes gathered together on 2 field trips and went to more historic places than before. For supporters, planning the field trip wasn't that easy. We had to take account of the theme of the trip, including the routes of the trip, historic or traditional factors, and informations that we had to explain during the trip. Also, we had a fixed budget for the trip, so keeping our finances low was another factor we had to keep in mind. Although this process sounds boring, this actually helped me a lot in the future when I was working as an airport translator/guide for conference attenders. What I remember the most is when I met Fadel Musa, the mayor of Ariana, Tunisia, when he visited Korea for World Human Rights Cities Forum. His arrival was delayed for 3 hours and I had to reschedule his bus ride to Gwangju, where the forum was held in. We headed to a cafe in the airport and he generously bought me a cup of iced coffee and he had an espresso. Then he asked me questions like places to visit, cultural backgrounds of Gwangju, and so on. The experience of organizing the field trip came back to me and was able to help him to have a better time in Korea. And the last experience I want to address is being buddies. When learning a foreign language, many people make attempts to find language exchange friends. While this can be a positive and efficient way to learn a language, finding a native student who really wants to exchange language is difficult. Whether he or she isn't really interested in learning your language, or just lose keeping in touch. But after a month of regular lessons and field trips, we managed to be good language exchanging friends after the program was over. Our studying groups still keep in touch via Kakao Talk or Instagram, and we even meet on Animal Crossing. And since both sides are actually interested in linguistics, we ask and answer each other's culture and language that we cannot easily find on the internet or informal lessons. To sum up my experience with NSLIY, this was a great opportunity to rethink my future career as a cultural content creator or a localizing expert. I achieved a goal of teaching them things that they can't learn in regular formal lessons, and it encouraged me to take a further step to make my YouTube channel on the same concept. Working with other supporters to organize the field trips helped me to be better at my job as a translator for travelers from abroad. And in the end, I made a lot of great friends, including you guys watching my videos. Thank you for watching through the end, and see you next time. 다음에 봐요.